it's always inside of the kidney. It's in the renal pelvis. What we have to determine is it a cyst? Is it a dilated ureter? Okay? That's what we have to determine about these. A horseshoe kidney. Anterior, posterior, superior, inferior. See how I can see my superior border? I'm losing my inferior border. That's because both kidneys are fused at the inferior poles, and we have to do a transverse aorta to document and confirm that this is a horseshoe kidney. If you can't see the inferior pole, I mean, I could do this because I do see an inferior pole. Okay? But do I really see all of the inferior pole? No. You've got to see the whole thing, the whole capsule, to call it a normal kidney. If you don't see the whole capsule, go and look for a horseshoe. It's the most common abnormality, a normal abnormality that we find.
That's the horseshoe.
It's a horseshoe kidney.
Can you kind of outline what a horseshoe?
No, I am right here though. Okay, so here is my liver. Here is my kidney. I'm losing the inferior pole. Do a transverse aorta, and you can see kidney tissue going over the kidney. Got it? It's the only way to make that diagnosis.
Kidney tissue going over the what?
Kidney tissue going over to the other kidney. They're fused at the inferior pole. See, here's the inferior pole. It has tissue growing over to the other inferior pole.
And that's the horseshoe kidney.
And that's a horseshoe kidney.
Basically connecting the two.
Both kidneys are connected to one another. They call it a horseshoe. It's a normal variant. Okay? So, other variants that we can have. Bilateral renal agenesis. What does agenesis mean?
No kidney.
No kidney. This is not compatible for life. Okay? Unilateral renal agenesis. I'm missing one kidney. That means that the kidney that I do have is going to be very big. 13, 15 centimeters. A kidney is usually about the size of your fist. I can supernumerary kidney. I have more than one kidney, more than two kidneys. Okay? Ectopic kidney. That's usually going to be in the pelvis. Yeah, it's out of its location. Okay? And cross-fused renal ectopia, it's the ureter that is displaced. It will go over to the other side. Mm-hmm. So here is a supernumerary. I have a kidney coming off of the, what vessel is this?
Iliac.
Common iliac. Common iliac. So what are these vessels out here? Arcuates. Because they're the ones in the cortex. What is this vessel right here? Or right here? Interlobar. Okay? So here you can see that Let me see, I didn't look at this picture. Here's the right kidney. And here is the left
kidney.
kidney.
Superior. Supernumerary.
So where is it at?
Supernumerary.
Is it above it? Because it looks like I have a membrane here. Okay. Ectopic. Here's the uterus, UT. Here's the bladder, and here's the kidney. Is this sagittal or transverse?
Sagittal.
It's transverse. Superior, posterior, because see, look at that. So I know this is transverse. Left, right. Okay? What is this one? It's at an oblique. Okay? So it's mal-rotated like this because it is attached to the iliacs. Okay, so you'll see it beside the bladder. You still have to document the renal fossas. A fossa is where something is supposed to be. Okay, the renal fossa. You document it in sagittal and transverse. And when you put fossa, that's telling the doctor, I don't see it. Or if the patient has a scar, you can say right kidney removed, left kidney removed. But you still document fossa. So cross-fuse ectopia is that where you have two kidneys on one side, but the ureters cross over to it. Okay, so the ureter is still going to be on the left side and going into the bladder, posterior, inferior at the trigone. This one we're not going to go into, that one we're not going to go into. So let's talk about the bladder. Some of the things that can go wrong with the bladder. And don't worry, we're going to go over the same information again. I know it's a lot of information. Okay. This is a bladder diverticulum. There's a break in the wall. You measure the break to see how big it is, because they're going to have to go in and fix this. Okay? There's a break in the wall, and so I have urine in a sac outside the bladder, a bladder diverticulum. A bladder duplication. I can have two bladders. Okay? Bladder exstrophy. My baby can be born with the bladder outside of the body. The muscle wall does not form and close over the bladder, causing the bladder to be exposed.
So are those two here?
This is the bladder, okay? Looks like a little girl, because these are the labia majora, the labia minora, and an exposed bladder.
Can be fixed?
It can be fixed. On ultrasound, we'll see a low implantation of the umbilical cord, and you'll see stuff outside of the baby's body. Posterior urethral valve, posterior PUV, okay? PUV. We call it the keyhole because it looks like a skeleton key. Okay? Posterior urethral valve. Urachal. This happens during embryology. You can have a complete or you can have an incomplete. If you have a complete urachal cyst, you'll have pee-pee coming out of your belly button. If it's complete. A ureterocele. Remember how we talked about the diverticulum? Well, this is like something that happens to the lining, what's the lining of the bladder called? The mucosa, okay? There's a deformity in the mucosa where urine gets into like little sacs inside the bladder. And that's called a ureterocele. Functions, we're too close to breaking, so let's talk real fast about the kidneys. Okay. Okay. Here's my bottle. Here's my urethra. So we already know this is called what? Keyhole. Okay? If I have a stone here, what's going to happen to this? Yeah. So this is going to be blocked up and it's going to be dilated. We normally don't see the ureters because they're too small. Okay? And so this is called, my brain just went blank. If I have a stone here, what's going to happen? This is a posterior urethral valve. This is called a UVJ. This is called a UPJ. Okay? So that's going to make my kidney filled up with water, and that's called a hydrocele or hydronephrosis. Ureteral pelvic junction. My blockage is at the pelvis of the kidney. Ureteral vesicle junction. What is the bladder? It's just a vessel that holds urine. Okay? If it's here, it's going to cause a backup to both the ureter and the pelvis. Okay? And the posterior urethral valve, it only happens to little boys and men. Okay? Those are the three things that you're going to see the most of in clinic. Okay? So y'all go to lunch. We'll go over this material again because I know it's a lot.